So Terry Bradshaw was asked about this whole Aaron Rodgers playing, coming to Pittsburgh. Obviously, Terry Bradshaw's like, he's not only Steelers lore. He's like a legend there. That guy will never. I mean, he'll never buy a drink again in that town for the rest of his life. So he was asked about Aaron Rodgers, and here's what he said about him.
What do you think about possibly Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback?
That's a joke. He shouldn't. That is just, to me, is a joke. What are you going to do? Bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? I mean,
that's not the Steelers' way, right?
No, man. That guy needs to stay in California and go somewhere and chew on bark and whisper to the gods out there.
100%. These guys on the show, Mr. Bradshaw, know I'm not a fan of his. We've been around each other personally, and he was not a kind person.
Now, he does not. I had to go over and introduce myself to him. He's not. I had to go, hey, Aaron, I'm Terry Bradshaw. I know he knows me, but I just felt like I better tell him who I am.
Yeah.
And not, you walk in there and you get in his presence and you feel like it's going to start snowing.
Okay, so is what he said about Aaron Rodgers a big deal or no deal, Cappy?
I don't think it's a big deal. I think the first part of it is that, look, it's getting late now, right? I mean, the Rams are in OTAs, so are other teams around the NFL. If Aaron Rodgers was going to be playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he should have already been signed. He should be in there. He should start to get to know the offense. He should start to get to know the personnel. He should get to know the city, the organization, et cetera, et cetera.
But he didn't mention any of that.
Terry Bradshaw?
Yeah.
No. But the host who was interviewing him and wherever he was in Arkansas or something like that was like saying it's not the Steeler way. And so I agree, it's not the Steeler way. And I also don't think it's the Mike Tomlin way. And I think Mike Tomlin is the kind of
what's not the Steeler way?
To go out and get a quarterback under like a 1 year, especially a player who's as controversial as Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that's really the Steelers' mentality. Now, you might say,
they haven't had a good quarterback in a while.
I was going to say,
since Ben Roethlisberger.
I thought that he was meaning more like this guy is not the Steeler way. Like, he's go stay in California and chew on the bark and talk to the gods. Like, I thought he was ripping him way more for his personality than anything else.
Oh, no, I agree. But my point is that from a football standpoint, if he's not signed right now by the Steelers will be making a massive mistake if they sign Aaron Rodgers. If they signed him 3 months ago or 2 months ago, whatever, if he were in camp right now, I'd say, hey, I'd like to see what happens for a year, maybe two, but I just, if he's not there by now, I wouldn't do it.
I can bring my own NFL fandom into this. I'm a Vikings fan, and there was a question, right? Okay, what's going to happen with Sam Darnold? I didn't think he was going to be worth the money, and they drafted J.J. McCarthy, but that thought went out there, of course. Hey, well, what about Aaron Rodgers? Brett Favre went from the Packers to the Vikings. I was like, no, absolutely not. So I get that part of it from Steelers fans. At the same time, the Vikings did draft a quarterback in the first round that they traded up to get last year and have their, in theory, quarterback of the future, and we got to see what he has, et cetera. Well, who's going to start for the Steelers next year? Right now, like if
Mason Rudolph.
Okay, I mean, who's excited about that?
Nobody.
Okay,
I am as a Browns fan.
So that's the only part of it where, again, I wouldn't want him. I still don't. I understand all the stuff about the personality, but in terms of like, could he come in and play better for 1 year, just on a 1 year deal, and then in theory, you draft your quarterback of the future or whatever. Maybe you trade for somebody. So that argument I can buy to an extent. But Cappy, it is persuasive what you just said about, like, I was talking to some people with the Chargers, like they're about to play a game soon, like a preseason game. Like it's getting there.
We're less than 100 days away now.
Yeah, so like that
98
part,
days,
and I think isn't it even earlier, like the Hall of Fame game.
Well, yeah, but
I'm saying 100 days till like the regular season.
Yeah, but the Hall of Fame game is is much less than that. Like
I think it's let's see.
End of July, last week of July.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
So it's June.
Right. Listen, there's also talk that the Steelers may make a trade, possibly for Kirk Cousins, who is not in Atlanta's camp right now, according to the reports.
He's probably hoping for.
Oh, I'm sure.
Of course, yeah.
But listen, I'm with Terry. Is it a big deal what Terry Bradshaw said? I don't really think so.
The only Cappy, the only thing about it being
It'll
usually
be a big deal if they sign him.
Well, just how critical he was, though, is interesting. And so that's where it's one of those, like, well, was this one of those, like, was it a town hall type thing? Like, was it supposed to just be in the room and then someone leaked the audio? Or is Bradshaw just at the stage where he's old enough and he doesn't care?
Yeah, he don't care.
I think it was, and I think it was like a remote broadcast situation.
Okay,
and I also think that Bradshaw kind of sounded like a guy who was a little bit pissed off.
He definitely
that he had to introduce himself.
Yes,
He wouldn't have said that on like, Fox, though, right? Like, it seemed like...
I could see Terry Bradshaw saying whatever he wants. Yeah.
Okay.
But he definitely was mad that he big timed him. I had to introduce myself to him, like, oh dang.
Yep.
It'll be interesting if they sign him. I think. Like I'm rooting for it even more now.
And hey.